Heal me, he muttered hoarsely, raising his wounded palm. Samara gave the burn a short look before settling her eyes on his own. He's still holding on to her towel, and her back still hurts a lot as a result of the crash earlier. And why would I heal you? Douchebag, she scoffed. Your shitty sword did this to my palm when I grabbed it earlier in the woods to save your ass. He spat, and she laughed out loud immediately, but it was short. I thought you were the almighty Orion who's king over the pack. So you feel pains too? That's new, you don't look like someone who has ever experienced pains, and that's why you enjoy inflicting it on others, she said seriously, and he let go of her towel immediately, but before she could blink, he grabbed her neck, having her on a tight chokehold which made her bleed from the nose. Talking about me that way will surely bring disaster to you. It's another way to tell you to watch how you talk about me, which he gritted, choking her more. Are you sure you really want to get healed? Samara managed to ask. Her neck is still in his palm. Orion let go of her roughly, and she fell on the ground, holding her red neck as she began coughing. Forget about it. Having you heal me might ruin my plans. Your training classes starts tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. at the assembly, he said and walked out. Samara managed to stand, still coughing as she held her red neck. She leaned on the wall for support as she spit out blood, and she wiped the blood on her nose with her second hand. She felt something wet on her face, and when she touched it, it's tears. Did he actually force tears out of her eyes? She can't remember the last time she cried. She didn't even cry during her father's burial. She wiped the tears and went for a cup of water on the table. She rinsed her mouth with it and looked at her sword, which is lying on top of the table too. I have to quickly tame you. I believe we still have a lot to tackle together, she muttered and hugged the sword to her chest. Thanks for hurting that douchebag. Inside Orion's room. Immediately Orion arrived, he walked to the middle of the room and looked at the wound again. It got bigger again, and before daybreak, he's sure it had spread to every part of the hand. Come out, he said authoritatively, and instantly, a clone came out of him. A clone of himself with same face, but the only difference is their personalities. While Orion is grim, the clone seems cheerful, smiling as he sat on the bed. Orion calls out his clones anytime he's extra bored or needs answers to questions, just like now. At once, he has the ability to call out 7, but for now, he needs just 1. Why did you call out just me today? It won't be fun without the others. You're too boring, the clone said, crossing his legs with a loud grin. Stop grinning, Orion glared, and he stood. How many times do you want me to tell you that you don't get to control me anytime you call me out? What's her sword all about? Orion replied, raising the wounded palm. Oh, I see you got wounded by the golden emotionless sword of the Whitehead Witch, the clone smiled. Emotionless? Orion frowned. It's a sword passed down to the women in the Hercules family. It hasn't been used since her mother was born, though, the clone replied. Why? Orion asked. Her mother isn't a Whitehead, and it's a rule that if the sword is passed down to any female in the family who isn't a Whitehead, the female has to keep it throughout her existence without using it. The sword is soaked in the menstrual blood of the witch for all the years it's left unused till another Whitehead would be born into the family. Her mom lived 20 years before giving birth to her, so that sword spent 20 years in her menstrual blood before Samara got it. You can imagine how powerful the sword is gonna be right now, the clone explained. It's powerful than my red sword? Orion asked, and the clone laughed. Of course not. Your red sword was born together with you, Orion. The sword came out of your mother on the night you were born, and it killed your mother. You got your sword immediately you were born, so there's no way that emotionless sword is more powerful, the clone replied. Then why did it hurt me? Orion asked, staring at the palm again. It didn't hurt you 'cause it's more powerful, it's the rule. The emotionless sword only welcomes touches from its owner. You had no right to touch it, and that's why you got hurt, the clone replied. How do I get healed? Orion questioned again. Dip the hand in her menstrual blood. Before you go further, I'd advise you to go to the channel page and watch the previous parts so you don't get confused on the interesting roller coaster. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as it fuels the writer to write more. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Thank you. You've got to be kidding me, Orion said with a disgusting look on his face. Then leave your hand to rot. It's the only way unless you wanna. Orion returned him before he could finish speaking, and he went back inside him. There has to be another way, he muttered. At the Institute library, Krishna met emptiness when he entered the building stuffed with legendary books, and he smiled with a nod. Just how he likes it. He should be at the cafeteria, eating with the others right now, but he's just not feeling the need to satisfy his hunger, and that's why he came here, his place of peace. Cat jumped out of his pocket immediately. I'm gonna go eat at the cafeteria. I'm not sitting here to read boring books with you, she said. I know you can even trade me for food, so just go already. Raven will feed you, Krishna smiled. Happy reading. Cat squealed, rushing out of the library. Krishna raised his hand up, and a book from the shelf flew into it. He grabbed it and didn't bother to walk to the tables. He sat on the ground and rested his back on the shelf, opening the book to start reading peacefully. It's about the origin of supernatural beings, including demons and dark forces. According to the book, the demons on the surface of the earth right now are just descendants of the ones that are yet to be released. The higher demons are trapped in a tomb somewhere in the middle of heaven and earth, and no one knows how to release them, but it's written in a book, called the Forbidden Manual. The Forbidden Manual hasn't been seen by anyone, and many people believe it doesn't even exist, but according to few ancestors, the book exists and is kept safe in an unknown place. Cause the moment anyone finds it and releases the higher demons, then havoc will happen on Earth. I wish I can get the Forbidden Manual though, Ceres' voice said beside him suddenly, and he looked up. Ceres? When did you get here? She smiled and squatted in front of him. When you were so focused on reading, I sneaked in, she bit her lip seductively. And why do you want to get the Forbidden Manual? He asked. It doesn't contain how to release the higher demons alone, it also contains powerful spells, and like I heard, if anyone learns the spells, all the powers in the intermediary between heaven and earth would be sealed in the body of the person. Isn't that awesome? She smiled, biting her lip again. Your seduction won't work on me, Ceres. Stop biting your lip, you'd wound yourself, Krishna replied, and she scoffed. Why are you always like this? 'Cause I'm your best friend's sister? Even if Raven wasn't involved, I can never like you, Ceres, he replied bluntly, and she stood. Boring. You're so boring. She grunted, stumping her foot as she walked out of the library. She suddenly stopped when she got out of the door, and she smiled diabolically when she remembered something. She stood still, and slowly, she transformed to Ruthie, even her clothes changed. She smiled before going back into the library. Hey bookworm. She waved, and Krishna stood immediately. Hey. Ruthie, you visit the library too? He smiled, and instead of answering, she grabbed his face, kissing his mouth damn hard. Krishna pushed her away immediately, and she smiled, licking her lips. Ruthie, are you crazy? What the fuck did you just try? He panted. What? You didn't enjoy it? I've always wanted to kiss you and finally I got a chance. Why don't we go to the party together tomorrow? She winked. Thought you were a different girl, but I guess I was wrong, he muttered and walked out. Ceres laughed out loud before transforming back to herself, and she smirked evilly. We're just getting started, Ruthie. Inside Samara's room. Samara was panting and sweating as she ran through the dark valley, but it doesn't look like anything is chasing her. She's the one chasing something. Stunts kept pulling her legs, but she stands immediately she falls, and the race continues afterwards. She was still on it when someone suddenly blocked her way, and she stopped running. Granny Elsa, she muttered, swallowing hard as she stared at the old woman. You're chasing after a dangerous beast, it'd kill you, Granny Elsa said calmly, her white hair flowing with the air just like Samara's. No. Granny, I really need to get to him. He's my only salvation, he's your doom, Granny Elsa said, and Samara shook her head. Granny, you. And that was it, a red sword was shoved into Granny Elsa's stomach from behind, and Samara's eyes widened. Granny fell immediately. The sword was removed from her stomach, and Orion's bloody face came to view. Argah! Samara screamed back to life. It's actually a nightmare. She was sweating so much as her breathing went high and low, and she held her chest. Granny is dead, why am I dreaming about her? Why was I chasing Orion? And why did she call him my doom? She muttered, looking at the necklace on her neck. The pendant is a cross, sitting on her chest. She took the pendant to her lips and kissed it. She got the necklace as a gift from her granny before her death actually. Granny, are you trying to tell me something? She whispered. Next morning. Samara's skin was greeted with a strong breeze, and it made her wonder whether she's in her room or not. She was lucky to get a cozy room, so it's always warm, but why the sudden coldness this morning? If you sleep one more minute, then you're gonna have to run 100 laps round the assembly, Orion's voice said, and her eyes flew open. She sprang up to see him standing beside her bed, and another crazy thing is that the bed is not in her room anymore. It's outside. In the middle of the assembly. What the fuck is this? Onion, what do you think you're doing? She shouted. The first class should be teaching you how to say my name properly. I'm your superior, he smirked. Is that important right now? You brought my bed out of my room without my permission. It's not even daybreak yet. She yelled. I told you 6 a.m. last night, and now it's 6 on the dot. I love keeping to time, he replied bluntly. Why are you doing this to me? She said. Grab your sword, he replied sternly. You're wounded on your right hand, and I know you can never do what you have to do to heal, so how are you gonna train me? She said. There's no way I'm dipping my hand into your menstrual blood, he replied. How did you know? She went closer. Learn to control your sword first. I'm not lenient like Aragon, so every weakness comes with great punishment, he said, and she grabbed the sword immediately. He teleported the bed back to her room, and she stood facing him, holding her sword firmly. Come at me with the sword, he commanded, and she raised the sword on him, but just like yesterday, it flew away from her. Get it and come at me again, he ordered, and she ran to get it. Concentrate your inner energy. Gather your power in your core, he said. I don't know my core yet, she said. Your belly, he replied, and she positioned herself again. She tried her hardest best to concentrate this time, but the sword flew away from her hand again. They kept doing it again and again, and she kept failing till Aragon came out with all his students to the assembly too. Poor Sam, Ruthie muttered. Somehow, I think her being under Superior Orion is for the best, Peony replied. Maybe, Ruthie smiled, and she suddenly saw Krishna. Hey Krishna. Morning. She waved, and he rolled eyes before looking away. What was that? Peony asked. I dunno, Ruthie replied hurtfully. Ceres smiled satisfactorily. Aragon looked at Samara again before starting his training class with his students. In the ice cave. Agatha barged out of the ice cave, totally healed. She rolled her eyes about before starting to walk to her room. Surely, she'd still get punished by the master, but she'd get back at Echo definitely. No one hurts her. Agatha! His Majesty is here. A disciple ran to her, and her eyes widened. Really? Father? Of course. He's waiting at the terrace. The disciple replied, and Agatha ran all the way to the terrace. Truly, King Depp is waiting in all royalty. Atha, he called fondly. Father! She shouted happily, rushing into his arms. You've become so skinny, King Depp said. The trainings here are too hard. She replied, breaking the hug. I'll see the master before I leave, and I brought you a lot of things, King Depp replied, and some maids brought in bags of gifts immediately. They're so beautiful. She gushed, checking them all out. They're mostly jewelries and treasures. Your sword will appear soon, Atha. The powerful sword of Sullivan is yours. King Depp suddenly held her shoulders. I've been waiting all week for it, she pouted, and from under his robe, King Depp brought out a bottle containing a green liquid. What's this? She asked. You sent me a message through the pigeon that some lowlifes are being a bone in your throat in here. This is the soul-snatching poison. If it makes contact with the supernatural, after 24 hours, the soul will depart from the body no matter how powerful he or she is. I mean, death, King Depp whispered. Not bad, Agatha smiled, taking it with a mean smile. Training assembly. Samara is still on it with Orion, and right now she's about to try controlling the sword for the 99th time. She's already so weak, and her lips are pale. Cost the more she tries to control the sword, she loses blood in her system, and she'd surely need a lot of medication after this to come back to shape. Her hand was already shaking on the sword as she held it, and she slowly looked up at Orion, who seems thrilled by her current condition. If you try it now and still can't do it, then you'd receive the punishment I talked about, he said mercilessly, and she swallowed, feeling empty inside. Go on, he said. Samara took a deep breath and lifted the sword, but as usual, it flew away from her and went to Aragon's angle, landing in front of him. Orion looked up at the sky, and his eyes shimmered red. Almost immediately, rain began falling. Heavy rain, and as usual, it's not touching Orion despite the fact that he's inside. On your knees, he ordered, and Samara tiredly knelt in the rain in front of him. You can't leave till the rain stops, he said, and her eyes widened as he started leaving. No, Orion. Orion. She stood and ran after him, but immediately she pulled his shirt to stop him. He turned back and slapped her soundly. Samara fell on the ground with a bleeding mouth as a result, and that same minute, Aragon Super sped to the scene, slapping Orion thunderously on the face too. She's your student, not a slave. He yelled angrily, and instantly, Orion's eyes changed color totally. Insanely deep red than the normal one, and his fangs grew so long in his mouth among his teeth, dark veins danced wildly on his hot skin. He bared his long fangs furiously, growling like an angry lion as he grabbed Aragon. Like a vampire hungry for blood, he sank his face into Aragon's neck. No! Samara screamed horrifically, and the eyes of the rest of the disciples came wide too. Aragon stayed still, and Orion's face remained in his neck for a minute before he raised it. His face is back to normal, and his fangs are gone now. Did you just try to bite me? Bastard? Aragon said unbelievably. I have no good left in me to do, but not biting you doesn't mean I changed. I only saved your blood for another day, Orion replied and started walking away. Aragon got his sword immediately, and when he made to charge towards Orion. You know better than to come close to me with that, you'd end up getting wounded, Orion said without looking back till he went out of sight. Aragon sighed, and his throat moved as he swallowed, remaining in his spot. Superior, are you okay? Samara stood and held his arms, checking him out. Her cheek is so red right now as a result of the slap she received from Orion. Are you worrying about me right now? You're hurt, he replied. No, it doesn't hurt. You almost got hurt 'cause of me, Samara replied. Come with me. Aragon took her hand, leaving the assembly with her. Agatha was coming out of the terrace with her father when she saw them, and she grumbled angrily immediately. She'd be the first person I'd kill. I hate her for always being around Superior Aragon, she muttered. That girl. King Depp said, looking at Samara intently. What about her? Agatha asked. Nothing, let's go, he replied, and she gave Samara another sour look before going out with her father. Wait. I'm not getting something. Is Superior Orion a vampire? Raven asked no one in particular. He's still at the assembly with the rest. Vampire? Cut the crap, Krishna replied. But you saw what happened earlier. He almost drained Superior Aragon's blood and he grew fangs and... Can you stop talking about him before he comes here and rip out your heart? Ceres rolled eyes. Practice has been cut short, I'm so happy, Echo stretched. What are we having for breakfast? Merlin's voice made them turn in one direction at once. Merlin! Echo shouted, rushing to hug him. You're finally back. Your wound is healed. She touched his belly, and he nodded, then she hugged him again. I'm so happy you're back. I even got punished by Superior Aragon for wounding Agatha 'cause of you, she pouted. Really? He broke the hug. Yeah, she had to pick 3 bags of stones till daybreak, and she wasn't allowed to use her powers, Peony grinned. That must have been hard, Merlin said. But it's all good now. Let's go for breakfast before shower. The party is tonight too, so we have a lot to do. Echo giggled, and Merlin smiled as she pulled him away, out of the assembly. Those two. Raven shook his head. I need some food too, Krishna said and made to leave, but Ruthie grabbed his hand, bringing him back. Krishna, are you mad at me? I don't remember doing anything bad, she said. Seriously? Last night at the library, you still don't remember? Krishna replied calmly. Library? I didn't go to the library last night, so I don't know what's going on. What? Krishna frowned. Krishna, I swear heaven and earth that I didn't go to the library last night. I fell and got wounded on the knees, and after Samara treated the knees, I went straight to my room and Peony even came to spend time with me. Trust me, Krishna, she said, and Krishna looked her in the eye. Believe me, she said gently. Ceres started smiling again on her spot, but Raven suddenly pulled her out of the assembly, taking her to the back of the giant bell. What? She broke free. It's you, right? You're the only one I know in this institute who's capable of stealing people's appearances, he said, and she smirked. So? What did you do? Report me to the chiefs? Ceres, I'm not against you using your power, but using it on my best friend is totally out of it. Are you insane? He said angrily. I seriously don't have your time, Raven, she said and made to leave, but he grabbed her shoulders and threw her back to the bell concrete. Ah! She gasped hurtfully, looking at Raven shockingly. His eyes are glowing. Did he just overpower her? Careful, sister, he muttered and left her, walking away from the bell. Ceres held her chest, still resting on the concrete as she tried to calm herself. Raven's powers are active, why is he pretending? She muttered. At the Institute apothecary. Aragon took Samara to the old building a little bit far from the villa, and he walked straight to a shelf when they got in. Sit down, I'll get something for your face, he said, and she smiled as she sat, looking around. It smells like herbs. The building is definitely old, she said. Yeah, it has been here even before Master Duran was born, 1,000 years ago, he replied, and her eyes widened. Master Duran is an immortal? What do you think? He replied, finally getting a brown bottle of ointment. Meaning? Superior Orion is an immortal too? She asked. No. He's just a cursed bastard who got what he deserved, he replied, taking his seat beside her. He's cursed? She asked as he began opening the bottle. Why do you think he behaves like a madman? He caused the death of his brother, and he was cursed with loneliness. No human can make contact with him, the result is death, he replied and turned her face to himself. He started applying the ointment on her red face with his fingers. But, he behaved like a vampire earlier. He almost drained you, she said. That's just one of his numerous mad personalities. He'd have drained my blood if he wanted to, but he'd never try that, he replied. Why? I was Astrid's best friend when he was alive, he replied. His brother? She asked, and he nodded. But does that count with him? He doesn't seem like he has a heart, she replied, and he smiled, still rubbing the ointment on her face. The redness is lessening. He's Orion, maybe I know him better than anyone, he said, and she smiled too. She wanted to talk, but she kept it off, then gave his face her full attention, staring deeply at him as he rubbed her cheek gently. Before she knew it, she started leaning in, and Aragon had to stop rubbing to look at her eyes. She still didn't stop leaning in, so he held her shoulders gently, stopping her from leaning further. What are you doing? He asked, and she blinked thrice before springing up. Thanks for the ointment, Superior. I'll see you around. She bowed slightly and rushed out of the apothecary. Aragon covered the ointment and began staring at the bottle, smiling as he did. At the Prestige Hall. Master Duran came out of meditation when King Depp's presence was reported, and he met him waiting at the open room already. Your Majesty, he said with a slight bow, and King Depp nodded. I came to see my princess, but the condition I met her in is not too appealing. She lost a lot of weight and flesh, and her skin got rough too, he said. You knew she was coming here to get power trainings when you sent her here from the palace. If you met her in same shape she was when you sent her here, then it only means she's doing nothing, Master Duran replied. We should understand ourselves more than this, Duran. I'm asking you to lessen her trainings. She told me it's compulsory to wake at 7 for trainings. Can't she wake at 10 for hers? King Depp said. She's not here for vacation, Your Majesty, Chief Water said, coming in. And if you're not pleased with the trainings here, why don't you take her to another institute? This is not the only supernatural institute in the world. There's Elm's Institute at Mount Way, Chief Feathers said, coming in too. You too. King Depp stood. You either take your princess away, or let her stay and continue getting the equal treatment. It's the rule, Master Duran said, and went back in. King Depp looked at the chiefs before leaving the hall in anger. How petty, who made that imbecile a king? Chief Feathers said with a light inhale. He's one of the richest kings existing, though, Chief Water said, and Feathers gave him a death glare. Minutes later. Breakfast has been announced, and the disciples are busy rushing to the cafeteria for their food already, but Samara is nowhere to be found. Ruthie left the villa and went to the cafeteria, but she's not in, so she rushed out of the cafeteria, bumping into Peony. Ruthie was looking for you and Sam, she said. I'm here now, but can't find Sam, Ruthie replied. She's at the assembly, practicing alone, Raven told them, and they rushed to the assembly. Truly, Samara is there, practicing the lifting of her sword alone. Ruthie made to go close, but Peony pulled her back. No. She needs this determination, let her have it, she said, and Ruthie nodded as they left together. Samara placed the sword on the ground this time, then she stood in front of it and closed her eyes, trying to gather her inner energy in her core like Orion said. She must become one with the sword first if she really wants to tame it, she must be able to communicate with it. She felt hotness inside her belly, and her brows moved as it got hotter and hotter. She could feel her energy gathering, it was steamy. Her core almost exploded as she tried to lift the sword with her mind, and surprisingly, it worked. The sword listened to her and left the ground by itself till it got to midair and stopped. Good, now get into my hand, she ordered, and the sword flew to her right hand. She grabbed it, and automatically, her feet left the ground too, and her eyes widened as she began flying in the air. The sword was deep gold in her hand as she flew, and she smiled prettily. You finally listened to me, whoa, I'm cool. Wish that vampire superior of mine could see this, she said. By now, she's out of the institute, still flying higher and higher in the morning sky. She looked down to take a peek at the world below, and it happened. She started falling from the sky, just like the other time at the cliff. No. Not again. No. She screamed as she sank down, but the familiar arm grabbed her again, and she gasped when she came face to face with Aragon. She quickly held his shirt in the front so tight. You're so silly, he said. The sword listened to me earlier, dunno why it suddenly stopped, she muttered. It's as stubborn as you, he replied. Am I? She said, and he smiled as they continued sinking back to the ground. Thanks for saving me again, Superior Aragon, she said, knowingly holding his shirt tighter. In the city of Spain, Hercules Villa. I hope they're adjusting well in their new environment. I'm not so worried about Ruthie 'cause she's good at that, Mrs. Reed said as she stepped out of the house with Mrs. Hercules. She actually came to have dinner with her. Lucky you, my Sam is a troublemaker, and since she left, I've dreamt of her multiple times. She was getting tormented by a wizard, Mrs. Hercules said. That's not so good, Mrs. Reed faced her when they got to the park. No, it's all good. Her granny Elsa says she needs difficulties to push out her power. I believe whoever the wizard is, he's helping without knowing, Mrs. Hercules said. Not a bad deal, I gotta go, Mrs. Reed replied, getting in her car. By Mrs. Hercules waved as she drove out, then she went back inside, but immediately she got back in, she felt a freaking dark energy everywhere, and she stopped on her tracks. She heard movements behind the freezer and turned there, but no one is in sight. The next sound came from the dining, and she walked there quickly, but no one is there too. The sound came from the living room again, and she went there slowly. Who are you? You know better than to invade the privacy of a witch, she said, and all the lights in the house went off immediately. She snapped her fingers, and the lights came back on. Orion was already sitting on the couch, his dark eyes on her as he rested back on the tiger skin. You're the wizard. My daughter's tormentor, I see you in my dreams every time I close my eyes, she said. Now I'm here to torment the mother too, I believe in double tormenting, Bree Hercules, he stood. What do you want? How did you know this place? And how did you know my name? Bree asked, and he rolled up the sleeve of his right hand, revealing the wound. It's spread to every part of it already, and it's bleeding. The emotionless sword, Bree muttered, looking at the wound. I'm not ready to do the shitty process of dipping my hand into her blood, so tell me any other way, he said. No other way, and for a wizard like you, even if you use her blood, you won't get healed. Just cut off the hand and feed it to the vultures, she replied. That answer can be dangerous to your existence, Orion replied stonily. Your boldness is interesting. You came all the way here to talk down on me despite knowing what I am? Bree said, and in the next second, Orion was already with her, grabbing her neck with his second hand. He flung her away, and she landed on the rugged floor with a groan. What do you think you are? You're just a lowly witch who's unlucky to be a descendant of a Whitehead. Got anything else to say? Bree? Orion said. Bree stood immediately, opening the freezer with her eyes. A bottle of water flew out of it, and the cap opened on its own. The water splashed on Orion's body, and fire began burning on him. The fire spread to his legs, and Bree inhaled as she watched him burn down till he became ashes on the ground. You're incredible, I must say, Orion's voice said behind her, and she turned to see him leaning on the wall. You just burnt down one of my 7 clones, not a good news, he said with a wicked smile, and when Bree made to cast another spell, he sped to her and grabbed her head. He snapped her neck into 2 before dropping her limp body on the ground. Rest in hell, Bree, he muttered and started walking out of the house, but immediately he got to the doorstep, he heard movements behind, and he looked back to see Bree standing up already. She came back from the dead, the cross necklace on her neck glowing powerfully, exactly the type on Samara's neck. You've gotta be kidding me, Orion muttered. Bree casted the 3-line spell in Latin, and Orion immediately landed in a locked dungeon in the middle of an inferno. I swear it, Bree, I'm killing you first if I come out of here, and your daughter's sufferings are just starting, he muttered as the fire scorched his skin. He tried to teleport, but it's like his powers aren't active in here. He held the hot metals, gritting his teeth. Bree! He yelled, and the energy of his yell made the whole place shake to its roots. And volcanoes erupted in the middle of the inferno, making the place hotter than hell. His skin got greatly affected, and he gripped the metal tighter, thinking of all the cruel things in this world he'd do to Bree. He was still throwing the thoughts around his head when he remembered something, and a small smile returned to his face. He looked at his arm, and in the next minute, he dug his teeth into it, biting deeply into the flesh till blood erupted. He sucked a lot of his blood into his mouth, then he placed his face in the middle of the metals, spitting out the blood into the inferno. The fire died immediately, and the volcano disappeared, making him smile evilly. Change of plans, Bree, I'd save your blood for another day, he said. Fresh hair hit his skin, and he let go of the metals, rolling his eyes before vanishing. At Reed Villa. Mrs. Morgan Reed, Ruthie's mum, was drinking wine from the cellar when Bree rushed into the house, and Morgan gasped, dropping her cup when she saw her state. Her neck is still so red from Orion's violence, and she's breathing hard. She sped here literally. Bree, what's going on? I left your place less than an hour ago, so. He came. Bree cut her off, and she squinted. Who? The wizard, Sam's tormentor. The one I do see in my dreams, Morgan. Bree said, and her eyes widened. What? Wait. It's not who I'm thinking, right? He's the only wizard capable of hurting witches. He killed me, Morgan. Thanks to Mother Elsa's necklace, I came back, Bree replied. It's really him? Morgan muttered. Yes, the cursed devil, Kira's child, Bree replied. What? Morgan gasped. He got hurt by holding Samara's sword, and he came to ask for cure, Bree said. Then? Morgan asked. We both know he really has to use Samara's blood to heal, but he wasn't ready. He insisted to get another way, and there's none, Bree replied. I was lucky to have him locked up in the Inferno dungeon using the capture spell, but I'm so sure he won't spend 3 minutes in there before escaping. He's really very strong," she continued. "He's surely gonna come back for you. We have to do something." "The existing spells probably won't work on him as it is," Morgan said. "Then? We have to create a new spell together. Come with me, Bree." Morgan pulled her into the inner room. At Mount Delos, Demon's Coven. Agars and Karatzi walked into the palace at once, and they met Queen Bakasura coming down from the bone stairs with Princess Molly behind her. "You summoned us, Great Queen," Agar said as they both bowed in front of her. "I'm bored, so I'm playing with the disciples of Mystic tonight." Molly spied on the Institute earlier, and it was detected that the cursed child is not in. "Great chance," Queen Bakasura replied and faced one of the numerous doors. It opened for her, and she walked in. The others followed, including Princess Molly, who has been quiet. In there is a large burning fire, one of the 7 fires of the Empire. Bakasura stretched her clawed hand forward, and a book appeared on it. "Come here, Molly, summon one," she said, and Molly took the book from her. She opened it expressionlessly and tore a page from it, closed her eyes and allowed her spirit to become one with that page. She communicated with it before throwing the page into the fire, and an explosion happened, though it didn't affect them. After the explosion, a demon came out of the fire, looking hideous. His mouth is on his forehead, and it's wider than normal mouths, and he's got just one ridiculously big eye below the mouth. No nose. He's got a long snake-like black tail and his arms look that way too. He's giant as hell. "Welcome home," Queen Bakasura smiled. At Mystic Institute, 7 p.m. The party hall is ready, beautifully decorated by flowers from Master Durant's hall in and out. The foods are surplus already, placed on every table present, no empty table, and thanks to Echo's powers, the hall was lightened by several fireflies apart from the normal lights. "It's dazzling in there." Chandelier by Sia was playing softly. "Ah. It's so beautiful," Echo said cheerfully when she came in. She's out of her robe right now, wearing a white gorgeous gown she took from Peony. "You own the fireflies, Yeno?" "Don't act like it's the first time you'd be seeing it," a disciple replied beside her. "Not that. The flowers weren't here when I came to summon the fireflies," Echo replied cheerfully. "Echo!" Merlin's voice said from the door, and she automatically turned to see him suit. Her eyes widened as he took each step to her. The only clothes she has ever seen him in is the robes they both always wear, and it's part of why they even became friends apart from their same age. But now that she's seeing him in suit and a different hairstyle, God. She was staring so hard that she was even unaware of when he got to him, so he had to tap her. "Echo!" "How," she muttered, and he smiled. "I'm handsome, aren't I?" he asked, and she nodded slowly. "Yes, you're." "Merlin, come have a dance with me." A disciple named Caitlin suddenly pulled him, and he faced her. "Huh? Come on, let's dance." She pulled him away before he could reply, and Echo experienced mixed feelings immediately. She turned her face away from him, holding her chest. "Hey!" Ruthie's voice made her look up. She's dressed in a really hot red gown, the color matching with her hair. "You look gorgeous," Ruthie. Echo smiled. "That smile isn't genuine. Is it because Merlin is dancing with Caitlin?" Ruthie said. "You don't have a date?" Echo asked, avoiding the conversation. "Nope. I'm single here tonight," Ruthie replied. "Then what about Samara?" "I dunno, but she has been obsessed with practicing her sword lifting since morning, and she's unstoppable." "She's not attending this party," Ruthie replied. "Guys," Peony said as she came in with Raven. He suited up just like the other guys, And he's looking extra handsome beside Peony, who's wearing a purple gown, matching with the color of her hair too. You guys look adorable, Echo said. She stole my line, Ruthie replied, and they laughed. Krishna came in next, and Ruthie smiled widely immediately. She wasn't expecting less 'cause he's freaking cute in his tuxedo, and she was licking her lower lip as she walked to him, but Ceres came into the hall and went to him faster, so she stopped on her tracks. Hey Krish! Ceres waved, her two-tone hair looking good on her. She's pretty. It's Krishna, Krishna replied, and she took his arm. Let's dance, she said, but he shook her off immediately. Not interested, he said curtly and walked to where Ruthie is standing. He picked a glass of wine from the table and then leaned into Ruthie's ear. You look sexy in what you're wearing, he whispered before leaving the table, and Ruthie's cheeks reddened with blush immediately. Ceres scoffed and walked angrily to another table. She took a glass of wine and poured it down her throat at once, huffing as she did. Agatha's gown was flowing when she entered the hall, it's completely black together with her lips, and she looks like a princess that she is as she walked. She was scanning the hall for any sign of Aragon, so much that she didn't concentrate on where she's going. She suddenly stepped on her gown and almost fell, but an arm wrapped on her waist from behind, and when she got released, she smiled when she saw who. Aragon. He's suited up like the rest of the guys, and he's illegally sexy. He's not the most handsome guy in the institute for joke. Careful, he said, and she smiled wider as he walked away from her. He just touched her. The party started in full swing, though none of the chiefs are present, even the master. It's a party for the disciples only, and it stops there. The song changed from Chandelier to Snowman Still by Sia. Tonight is for me, Sia is my favorite, Ruthie said. I love Ariana Grande, have you listened to Seven Rings? Peony replied. Nope, I'm not her fan, Ruthie said. I'm a fan of Nicki, Ceres said, suddenly joining their table. They all exchanged glances, wondering about the sudden change. I don't love music, Echo said. Me too. Merlin replied, joining the table too. Caitlin came with him, flirting and touching him anyhow. Echo scoffed and drank another cup of wine jealously. A game? Agatha said, joining the table. What game? Ceres asked, and they all turned to her again. Since when did Ceres and Agatha start talking to each other? Now tonight will be bad, I can sense it, Ruthie muttered. You can say that again, Peony replied beside Raven and made to drink another cup of wine, but Raven took it from her. You've drank enough already, you might get drunk, he said, and she smiled as she looked at him. I'll be fine, she said. No, he replied, and she gave him a peck on the cheek. For looking out for me, she said, and he chuckled. How about we start by voting for the most handsome between the two superiors, Echo said drunkenly. I'm saying it again, something huge is happening tonight, Ruthie said. I know, right? Krishna replied opposite her, and she smiled. I vote for Superior Aragon, Agatha said. It's Superior Orion, Ceres said. Superior Aragon, Ruthie said. Same here, Peony said. Same here, Caitlin said. Same here, Raven and Merlin said at a time. It's Superior Orion for me, I like him, Krishna said, and Ceres smiled. At least, he's on her side. Superior Aragon won this round, it's obvious he's the most handsome here, then Raven comes next, Peony said. Then let's vote for the prettiest female disciple, Echo said drunkenly again. Agatha smiled confidently, she'd surely win this. Samara. Peony and Ruthie said at a time, and they stuck hands. Samara, Raven and Krishna chorused too, and the smile disappeared from Agatha's face. It's Echo, Ceres said. Yeah, Echo, Caitlin said beside Merlin, and they all turned to Agatha. Talk, Ceres said, and she lifted the table within hand, throwing it on the wall angrily. Samara? Echo? Their beauties are nowhere near mine, she shouted. But no one wants you, Krishna laughed, and she threw a chunk of meat at him which he caught and took a bite from. Agatha spread her palm immediately, and her sword appeared, making all eyes widen. Her sword! Merlin gasped as she flew after Krishna with it. She tried stabbing him, but he fled, and she stabbed the wall instead. Agatha, stop! Ruthie shouted. Shut it! She shouted back, almost getting Krishna on the arm, but he escaped again and landed on the ground heavily. Aragon came back into the hall, and he was about to step into the ongoing pandemonium when he suddenly felt something, and he stopped on his tracks. His eyes widened. A demon, he muttered. Demon? Raven faced him. Out, everyone! Out! He shouted, rushing out. Everyone ran after him except Echo, who's drunk asleep. At the assembly, Samara's lips became pale already, just like it was in the morning as a result of excess practice on her own. She's able to lift the sword already, and she's currently learning swordsmanship, but it's somehow difficult since they haven't been taught the various formations. She wielded the sword one more time, swinging it to the back after making 3 moves, and she was breathing heavily. Then she felt a strange feeling in the pit of her stomach. It's normal to feel strange at times, but this is different. She stood still, and she was still standing still when Aragon teleported into the assembly, taking her away from the spot. Immediately they landed on another spot. The horrific demon landed on the spot they left, and her eyes widened as the remaining disciples joined them. What the fuck is that? Raven muttered with wide, terrified eyes. You're not blind, it's a friggin' demon, Krishna replied. Y'all are losing your souls to me tonight. The demon growled, shaking the ground. Agatha didn't wait any more before charging forward with her sword. She tried attacking it, but he blew fire out of his forehead mouth, and Agatha's dress caught fire immediately, burning completely till she's left in her underwear. Spitfire? Ruthie muttered, rushing to the demon to try her luck. She leapt into the air and opened her mouth wide, releasing a large fire on him. The demon tried to counterattack, but Ruthie's fire swallowed his own, and the moment the fire got to his body, he bled water from his wide mouth, and the fire went off before he was able to kick Ruthie away. She landed back on the ground painfully, and it was Aragon who leapt up this time. His blue sword appeared in his right hand, and he gave the demon a slash with it, making him tumble. He fell, and Aragon landed back on the ground. He ran to it and threw his sword halfway, targeting the wide mouth, but the demon sent it back, and Aragon did a spin in the air before catching it. He charged towards the demon again, and this time, Krishna, Raven, Ceres, Merlin, Caitlin, and the others joined him. Samara kept standing in awe, looking at the hot fight going on. The only place she has seen a scary thing like this is in movies, so they actually exist for real? She swallowed hard. Agatha stood behind her, smiling cruelly as she brought the bottle of poison out of her bra. She poured some on the blade of her sword and walked fast to Samara, thrusting it into her back from behind. Samara gasped, vomiting blood as she looked at the sword in her stomach. Agatha removed the sword. Die, she muttered, and Samara went on her knees, eventually falling on her face. The others are still having it hot from the demon, not noticing what's going on. Finally Agatha smiled satisfactorily, but her smile was cut short when the cross necklace on Samara's neck began shining. What is that? Agatha muttered as the glow got brighter and brighter. A beam of it entered her eyes, and she went blind immediately. Damn it! My eyes! She screamed in darkness. Samara rose from the dead, and the cross kept shining as she grabbed her sword boldly. Her eyes turned gold, and she leapt up, flying to the demon. She met Aragon fighting viciously with him, and he's greatly wounded already. "Superior, go down," she shouted, and Aragon left the air, so she stepped in. The light from the cross blinded the demon too, so she got the chance to roll in the air before swinging her sword to its neck, slicing it. The head of the demon fell off, but the mouth on its head was wide open, ready to swallow Samara whole as it fell towards her. Samara's eyes widened, and she was already imagining herself getting swallowed when someone else came, grabbing her away from the demon's head. "Orion!" And he's shirtless, all sweaty and shinny. His wounded right hand held her waist, and the left one caught the demon's falling head. The red glow flashed in his eyes, and the head transformed into an apple. He threw it in his mouth and swallowed it whole, and the rest of the demon's body melted to ashes. Then he faced Samara, whose eyes are still wide, in his arms. "Superior." "Onion. Told you can't die without my permission," which he smiled creepily. If this story touched your heart, please press like and share it with those you love so they too can hear this meaningful tale. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next part. I'm sure you don't want to miss it, besties. We sincerely thank you for staying with us until the very last moment. Wishing you and your loved ones abundant health, joyful lives, and hearts always full of love. Goodbye.